Hello, I come to you from a moving train. I'm coming back from the beach. Well, let's continue with Hazrat Inayat Khan's The Art of Being and Becoming. The attainment of harmony in life takes longer to acquire and more careful study than does the training of the ear and the cultivation of the voice, although it is acquired in the same manner as the knowledge of music. To the ear of the Sufi, every word spoken is like a note, which is true when harmonious and false when inharmonious. He makes the scale of his speech either major, minor, or chromatic as the occasion demands, and his words, either sharp, flat, or natural, are in accord with the law of harmony. Life in the world has a constantly jarring effect, and the finer we become, the more trying it will be to us. And the time comes when the more sincere and full of goodwill, the more kind and sympathetic a person is. Sympathetic. The worse life becomes for him. If he is discouraged by it, he goes under. But if he keeps his courage, he will find in the end that it was not disadvantageous, for his power will someday increase to that stage, to that degree at which his presence, his word, and his action will control the thoughts and feelings and actions of others. Then his rhythm will become powerful and will cause the rhythm of everybody else to follow it. This is what is called in the East the quality of the master mind. But in order to stand firm against the inharmony that comes from without, one must first practice standing firm against all that comes from within, from one's own self. For one's own self is more difficult to control than other people, and when one is not able to control oneself and one has failed, it is most difficult to stand firm against the inharmony outside. What is it that causes inharmony in oneself? Weakness. Physical weakness or mental weakness. But it is always weakness. Very often, therefore, one finds that bodily illness causes disharmony and inharmonious tendencies. Besides, there are many diseases of the mind that the scientists of today have not yet discovered. Sometimes people are considered sane whose minds are in fact ill, and as not enough attention is paid to the defects which are inherent in the diseases of the mind. Man has never had a chance to notice them in himself. He is continually finding fault with others, whether he works in an office somewhere, in a good position at home, or anywhere else. He causes inharmony. Nobody realizes this, for to be treated as insane, one must first be recognized as insane. The cause of every discomfort and of every failure is inharmony. And the most useful thing one can impart in education today is the sense of harmony. To develop harmony in children and to bring it to their notice will not be as difficult as it appears. What is needed is to point out to the young the different aspects of harmony in all the various affairs of life. Chapter 6, Exaltation. There's a verse in the Bible. It is the spirit that quickeneth. The flesh profiteth nothing. So what we call living is subtle. What is dead is coarse. In other words, what is dense is coarse, and what is fine is subtle. It is true, as the Hindus say, that there was a golden age, then a silver age, a copper age, and an iron age. Certainly, we are in the Iron Age. Never before in any period of history has there been such grossness and denseness as mankind shows today, and this has come about by the law of gravitation. When the consciousness is absorbed in gross matter, then a person gravitates towards the earth. When the consciousness is released from gross matter, then it soars towards heaven. I do not mean to say that people were not gross 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, but when we study traditions, we find that they were also fine and subtle in perception, more so than we are today. Our contact with the earth and earthly things has made us more rigid. They were more placid. And if we want proof of this, we have only to study ancient languages such as Sanskrit, Zen, Persian, or Hebrew, and to see the manuscripts of ancient times and the way they explain things. Maybe they are quite strange to our present-day mentality and perception, yet their fineness is beyond words. And it seems we're going from bad to worse and are becoming coarser every day. If we only realize how far we are removed from what may be called fine perception. When a person tries to understand subtle things by mathematical calculations alone, he has come into the dense sphere. He does not want to become fine. He wants to make the spirit, which is the finest thing, gross and intelligible. Therefore, it is of the greatest importance for spiritual attainment to develop fine perception. I have seen people go into a trance or dive into a deep meditation and yet lack fine perception, and then it is of no value. They are not really spiritual. A really spiritual person must have a mentality like liquid, not like a rock. A mentality that is moving, not crude and dense. This question has also a metaphysical side to it. There are two experiences in life. One realm of experience is sensation, the other is exaltation. It is by these two experiences that one tries to experience happiness, but what is experienced by sensation or in the form of sensation is not necessarily happiness, it is pleasure. It might give the appearance of happiness for a moment, but it is only a suggestion of happiness. Exaltation is something that the mystic experiences. Those who are not mystics experience it also, but they do not know what it is. They cannot distinguish between sensation and exaltation. Sometimes exaltation may be the outcome of sensation. It is possible that at the same time, exaltation that depends upon sensation is not an independent exaltation. There are different grades of exaltation. To the Sufi, the soul is a current that joins the physical body to the source. The art of repose naturally makes it easier for the soul to experience freedom, inspiration, power, because it is then loosened from the grip of the physical body. As Rumi says in the Masnavi, man is a captive on earth. His body and his mind are his prison bars, and the soul is unconsciously craving to experience once again the freedom that originally belonged to it. I need to shift here. Whew. My leg. Okay. The Platonic idea about reaching the higher source is the same, that by exaltation the soul, so to speak, rises above the fast hold of the physical body. It may be only for a few moments, but it experiences in those moments. It experiences in those moments of freedom that man has never experienced before. A moment of exaltation is a different experience at every level. The supreme exaltation is hinted at in the Bible. Be ye perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. Many religious people will say that it is impossible for man to be perfect, but it is said in the Bible just the same. At all times, the knowers and seers have understood that there is a stage at which, by touching a particular phase of existence, one feels raised above the limitations of life and is given that power and peace and freedom, that light and life, which belong to the source of all beings. In other words, in that moment of supreme exaltation, one is not only united with the source of all beings, but dissolved in it. For the source is oneself. The source is greater than we can put into words. We can try to conceive it by comparing it with a seed, which is the source of the flower, the leaves, the stem, the branches, and the fragrance. While if we take the seed alone, we do not see all those things in it.
Next stop is Bertha last two cars walk forward to exit for Bertha Boy.
Yes.
Sitting in car 76.
They were there all the time.
7759. Walk forward in the direction that the train is moving to exit for Bertha Boy. Exit at indoors vestibule area where you see a set of stairs. Lead it down to the platform.
On the other hand, we cannot really compare even the seed with the source, for the seed depends upon the sun and water, and each for its growth, whereas the ultimate source does not depend upon anything. It is all that is strong and powerful. It is beyond words and beyond our limited conception even to think of the source, except that when we get greater inspiration, peace, joy, and magnetism, we appreciate things much better. In this way, we may understand a little how great the source must be. The greater we are, the closer we reach to that source. As the great Indian poet Khusrau says, whenever when I become thou, and thou becomest me, neither canst thou say that I am different, nor canst thou say that thou art different. The different grades of exaltation are as the different notes in music. As we distinguish lower and higher notes, so it is with the different grades of the experience of exaltation. Even reading a beautiful poem can produce exaltation. Good music gives exaltation, and a feeling of great joy does so too. It all breaks up congestion. There are fine cells of the nerves that become free, and the body experiences relaxation. There's a difference between sensation and exaltation. But when we come to words, there's always confusion. One can say that exaltation is the fusion of all sensation, but if one says that through sensation exaltation is experienced, it is true also. As much as we need sensation in life to make our experiences of life concrete, so much or even more do we need exaltation in order to live life fully. The lower creations, such as birds and beasts, also have glimpses of exaltation. They not only rejoice in grazing and in finding seeds and making nests, or in playing in the air and singing and in running about in the forest, there are also moments when even birds and beasts feel exaltation. And if we go into this subject more deeply, we shall understand what we read in a most wonderful verse of Islamic tradition. There are moments when even rocks become exalted and trees fall into ecstasy. If that be true, then man, who is created to complete the experience that any living being can have,
Woodbridge, next after Woodbridge, train will express to North East North Jersey. Woodbridge is your last chance to change the local station stop such as Broadway, London, Elizabeth, North Elizabeth, and North Liberty International Airport.
must experience exaltation as much as he experiences sensation. What I mean by sensation is the impression one has of line and color, the preference one has for softness and structure, the appreciation one has of fragrance and perfume, the enjoyment one gains by tasting sweet and sour and pungent, the joy one experiences in hearing poetry, singing, and music. All these experiences are manifest in the realm of sensation. The world of sensation is one world. The world of exaltation is another. These two worlds are made for man to experience in order to live life on earth fully. And yet, with this possibility and opportunity in life, man continues to live a life of sensation, forgetting that there is another life as well, a life that can be experienced here on earth, and that completes life experience. There is a physical aspect of exaltation that comes as a result or reaction of having seen the immensity of space, having looked at the wide horizon, or having seen the clear sky, the moonlit night, and nature at dawn. Looking at the rising sun, watching the setting sun, looking at the horizon from the sea, being in the midst of nature, looking at the world from the top of a mountain. All these experiences, even such an experience as watching the little smiles of an innocent infant, these experiences lift one up and give one a feeling which one cannot call sensation. It is exaltation. A higher aspect of exaltation is a moral exaltation. when we're sorry for having said or done something unpleasant, when we have asked forgiveness and humbled ourselves before someone towards whom we were inconsiderate. We have humbled our pride then, or when we have felt a deep gratitude to someone who has done something for us, when we have felt love, sympathy, devotion, which seem endless and which seem so great that our heart cannot accommodate them, when we have felt so much pity for someone that we have forgotten ourselves, when we have found a profound happiness in rendering a humble service to someone in need, when we have said a prayer that has come from the bottom of our heart, when we have realized our own limitation and smallness in comparison with the greatness of God. All these experiences lift man up. The moment we have these experiences, we are not living on earth, but in another world. The joy of such experiences is very great, and yet they can be gained without paying anything, whereas sensations cost something. We have to go to the theater, to all kinds of entertainment. All these cost more than they are worth. But exaltation, which is beyond price, comes of itself as soon as we have shown an inclination towards it. It is only a matter of changing our attitude. Thanks for listening. Please catch me in the next video. May you find lasting happiness.